I have seen nothing else but chaos, either created by me or created by somebody else or God given. That has been my life all along. So, an experienced teacher to teach her own subject. I'm going to start. I know that I'm given only 10 to 12 minutes. Let me go as fast as possible. Start with a story of an 8-year-old girl living in a village, mostly Brahmin community. I don't know how many understand that. And they are known for education, educating themselves and educating others. And this girl was mad after education, very bright young girl. And in that village, I don't know how many of you would have seen a small, I wouldn't say hut, but it has got thatched partition and all that. The next door was a primary school. You can even say an apology of a school. And she used to go there with a lot of love and affection for the subjects. She was very good at it. And the teacher had a class like this. And one day he gave them a problem. And he told them, I have taught you all this problem. So you are supposed to answer the problem because I have already taught you. But if anybody misses out, the person who has given the right answer will give a knock on the head to the person who has not done it. In my language, that is Tamil, it is called kuttu. So the students knew what to do, what not to do. What happened was, as luck would have it, this girl was first correct and fast. And the boy sitting next to her was none of these. So what did the teacher say? Give a knock on the head. What do you think she did? She gave him a knock on the head, on that boy's head. That became hot news. How can a girl, give a knock on the head on a boy? So it so happened, it spread, just like hot fire. And this girl was innocent. She had given a knock on the head because that's what the teacher said. And the teacher did not come out and say that I was the one who gave that idea. He didn't. And so happened that her own father, who was a trustee of the school, was walking around and people came and complained to him, your daughter has done this. How is it possible? We have to dismiss her. And he said, okay. So that child was dismissed.
Really?
Dismissed on the spot. This is a true story. And what do you think she did? She came back. What do you think, today's circumstances, I know what happens, the young girls and boys, what do? If something like this happens, what do? Okay, you don't, that's not this time now. So, this girl, you wouldn't have expected this result. She came back. I know you would think of the worst, but she did the best. She came back, she didn't cry, she didn't argue, she didn't do anything of those. She came back, the school and her house had a thatched partition. Do you know what when I mean thatched?
Yes, yes.
And you see it only in remote villages these days. And what she did was, she came back home and she wanted to watch the teacher work on the blackboard and copy. So she made a hole in that partition. She made a hole and she couldn't buy paper, pen and all that because she was sent away from the school. So she got that mud and sand, made a bed of it, and she was watching through the hole And whatever the teacher taught the children on the blackboard, she copied it. And she learned. She learned and learned and learned. An informal education that a child could have. Better than the formal education, I suppose. And later on, when she got married, very young, I suppose, she was able to give birth to 10 children. Today, it's ruled out. Those days, I'm talking about 150, 180 years back. And this girl, after a woman, she educated them all, doctors, engineers, chartered accountants. She did it, with of course her husband's help. And then she educated some of the grandchildren also, the nieces and nephews. She became an educator like that. I am very, very happy and proud to say that I am her granddaughter. Wow. Her grandchild. Many grandchildren, I am one of those. So that is the reason I thought about her when I answered for one of the questions yesterday, that education plus empowerment results in equality. Now, this is what is called, I would say, training the mind. That chaos was stopped her from education. She trained her mind and answered. She never suffered. We are doing a program for the youth in schools for substance abuse prevention. I'm jumping. And when we field tested the flip chart, tomorrow I'm making a presentation on that. The teachers and the parents, we always field test, they told us, please add a few under mental health, because we suffer. And because of that, the children suffer, committing suicide, getting into depression, and becoming a recluse. This child did not become any one of those. That is what is like, I would say, training the mind. And she did it beautifully. Nobody trained her, she trained herself. Now, today's chaos we come to. There is an epidemic. I'm just taking one chaotic condition. There are many. If I'm here, that means there are many chaotic conditions. So, that, leave alone the girl. Epidemic amongst youth. You know what it is? Involvement of school children in substance use abuse. And we have got recent news reports, just a few I will read. Telangana capital shows Hyderabad's LSD blues. Let me not tell you the source, but if you want, I will give you the source later. Survey conducted by School Health Scheme of DGHS in government schools in Delhi has alarmed Directorate of School Education. 70,000 children habituated to drugs. Reveals first major government survey on Delhi street kids. Drugs reach Bangalore schools. Addicts are as young as 11 to 12. Bangalore Mirror Bureau. NIMANS, the famous institute, says it gets regular stream of patients, police counsel, schools, students and parents. In Chennai, that's where I come from, you may ask me, what are you doing? There are about 80 to 100 cases of child drug addicts being admitted for treatment in de-addiction centers alone. Global Youth Tobacco Survey represented that the prevalence of tobacco by adolescents was around 19% in Gujarat, an alarming increase. Same QIT has brought out, this is more alarming for me, 15.5% of never smokers, they have declared that they want to initiate smoking next year. They want to smoke. That is their report. Now, what do we do? How do we train the mind? This is the chaotic condition. The policy is for this chaotic condition, how do we train the mind? My NGO, that is DESH, we do information awareness, the first phase. The second phase is empowerment with accountability. And the third, collective action. WHO says information, education, communication. I agree, but there I differ. If you inform me, you are also educating me. But if I am not empowered, it's not purposeful. So you have to empower me, and not only empower me, you have also to make me accountable. If I have other kinds of sexual practices, I must know how to have safe sex. That's the accountability. So, and then just doing myself, it is not sustainable. I've been a counselor. I know that the treated alcoholics join Alcoholic Anonymous. That is collective action. So that means the change that is registered is on a sustained basis. So when WHO says IEC, we say IAEACA, information awareness, empowerment with accountability, collective action. That is the methodology. Now what DESH does is, DESH empowers individuals to develop what we call mental arsenal. We train the students to develop mental vaccination through thinking tool. It's a wonderful strategy. I learned it from some other agencies in Bombay. They were giving it to corporates for management studies. I said, why don't we use it for health purpose? And that we adopted it. And this mental vaccination as against physical vaccination. Physical vaccination enables them to develop disease-fighting antibodies. Mental vaccination enables individuals to build mental antibodies. This design is discussed tomorrow. Now, DESH also uses the transformational model as a pedagogic tool in the program. Each attitude that needs to be changed requires a frame shift. That is how we train the mind. To change in the awareness, to change in the empowerment, change in accountability, and then take action steps. Now, this method has been evaluated by external evaluators like Tata Institute, Administrative Staff College and all. And their comment is that the methodology, interactive process, professional training and good IEC material is the, what should I say, it is the unique selling proposition. Now what is the action? I'll come to that. Now this is the third year that we are doing. In 720 schools in Mumbai, we are doing health action program for progress of youth, HAPPY. Now this HAPPY, we have got 6 NGO partners because that is sustainability. We are not there all the time. They are there local. And they have been recommended by institutes like Tata Institute. And each NGO would select the schools and do whatever. So we are able to give this program to 720 schools. Through that, 0.5 million children are directly trained. Each child trains another child in the community. So that is indirect. So with this program, we have been able to reach out. I've got the documents. 1 million youth, adolescents. And what is the methodology? We first specialize selection and training of special teachers. And then we sensitize. The special teachers will sensitize all teachers. And then demonstration. 2 youth health champions. We give them the title Youth Health Champion certificate and all that. They are very proud of that. Will be trained by the special teachers. And these YHCs conduct health sessions for fellow students. Now, when this is supported by the Tata Trust, Bombay, now in Chennai they like the materials. The government has asked us to do training program for the teachers and the government trainers who can go to the district schools and do it. We are just signing it. Now, the first one is health, hygiene and nutrition. The second one is mental health. The third one is substance use, abuse prevention, tobacco, alcohol and drugs. The fourth one is life skills and values. The fifth one is communicate and communicable and non-communicable diseases. It's called NCD and CD. Then sixth is sexual and reproductive health. Seventh is violence and injuries, which is becoming rampant these days. And this 7 steps for every student is passed on. So that is training the mind. And what I like about this methodology is we call this E1T1. each one teaches another. So he is able to train somebody else from the community. That is our peer. With this methodology, we were one of the pioneers to have received a $1 million grant sometime back from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And through that, the project is over. Clap again when we get it again. So with this methodology, what we have done is, again, we have chosen 10 NGOs in Bombay, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, Chennai, Cochin, and Coimbatore. And each program has been evaluated by premier institutions like ASCI, TIS, St. John's Hospital in Bangalore, Ramakrishna Mission in University in Coimbatore, University of Cochin in Cochin, and Chennai Madras School of Social Work. And they have given a positive compliment on that. And with this, we have entered into the community, the schools and communities for the reproductive health care and workplace, so that we don't leave the men alone. We have got to tell them what to do. Sir, you can take it on, please. You tell the men also. And with this methodology, what do you think we did? How do you think I got this? Shiva got 3 eyes. I am no less. 3 legs. Now, we presented a dance ballet concept a lot developed by our own programs. Age, Youth and Women Ballet was presented in front of Mr. Bill Gates at Delhi and the Union Minister. So it was a grand success. In fact, on the lighter side of it, we had taken 25 adolescent boys and girls from the slum area where we have done the project, and others. We took them by train, a few of us by flight to come to Delhi, and they all presented it in front of Mr. Bill Gates and others. And Mr. Gates was so happy, so moved. And he came down, when we came down, he shook hands with all the children and all that. We just introduced him to the children. On the way back, the children refused to wash their hands. You know why? We are going to become very lucky. We have had the handshake of the richest man in the world. Wow. That's it. I think this is how we train the mind. We add humor to it, and we make them do it, and so that it is there on a sustained basis. The chaos is there, of course. Life cannot go on without chaotic conditions. It's qualified by that. But our strength is to train the mind to face the chaos, take it as a challenge, and do our job. Cut the chaos. Training the mind to cut the chaos. Any questions?
I have lots. I'd like to know about your journey, but I'll speak to you after.
My journey is tomorrow.
No, this would be on a personal level.
Good. No, that's also not personal. Any other question? No? So that means you are accepting what I said about training the mind to cut chaos. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're lovely anyway.
No. Now I'm a listener.
The tables keep turning in life.
Hello. That was fascinating. It really was. My name's Sue Kerr. Fear Less and Live More is my business in the UK. And that came about for many reasons. For those of you that were perhaps in the last session, you'll know a little bit more than those who weren't. However, suffice to say just now that I fit into 3 of the categories that Dr. Saraswamy just spoke about. I used to be a child. I was a child that grew up with mental ill health conditions. And I was a child who grew up having had mental ill health conditions, who grew up to be an alcoholic. That's not a joke, that's a fact. Am I proud of that fact? No. Am I proud of this person who stands here before you today? Hell yes. Because this person will be 7 years old on 26th of September, and for that reads 7 years clean and sober. And and for that read 7 years clean and sober, happy, healthy, and more whole than I've ever been in my entire life. It's my birthday on whatever day it is, 2 days' time. My birthday on Sunday. Don't all rush. It's my birthday on Sunday, which means that next year, this 7-year-old child will actually turn 60. Having decided to live, because I very nearly didn't as a result of my addiction, having decided to live, I embrace life full pelt every day. Even if I'm tired, I live intentionally on purpose. The title of this talk is Training the Mind to Cut Through Chaos. You're speaking to somebody this week who's lost her handbag, who spent this morning circling the programme with all those people I wanted to listen to speak for the next 3 days and has lost it. I told Roger, my friend, this morning I was speaking in this room when I was next door. So as you can see, I've got a handle on chaos. All joking apart, I embrace that fully. These days I teach people via a programme that has actually taken me the best part of the last 3 years to devise. Perhaps not unsurprisingly called Fearless. Shout out at the back. Yeah. Sorry, that's a Yorkshireman in me. I've spent the last 3 or so years devising the programme called Fearless, which the acronym stands for forgive, embrace, accept, respect, let go of your past, empower yourself to success. I teach this mainly to women, because women largely become overwhelmed and stressed out with their various hats that they have to wear in life: mother, daughter, wife, business partner, employee, whatever it is. We all wear a million hats, and I know the men do too. But I think as women we wear it as a badge of honour that we have got to be perfect. We have to do this. It got me into trouble and it nearly killed me, so I don't even try anymore. To be fair, because having lived, I decided I like it this side of sobriety, and I've saved myself about £60,000 in the process. But that's a whole different story. Anyway, listen. Fearless as a concept is something I believe that we should all live by. The word. To live life's fearless. I'm still scared of spiders. If a tarantula walks across that floor, if you see her, I'm not talking about that side of fear. That's a phobia. Fear, in the broadest sense, is like most things. It's a habit. We are not born fearful. We're not born afraid. We're born with the ability to be afraid. The ability to be afraid. And yet anything and everything that's ever happened to us, whether we recall it or not, in what I call the recycle bin of my mind, my unconscious brain, everything is stored there. You ask any cyber criminal who's ever been caught because he deleted everything. You can't. It's in there, whether you like it or not, it is in there. 60 to 85,000 pieces of information per day come into our minds through our 5 senses. Is there any reason I can't remember where I left my handbag? No, because in my life, is that important? Well, given that mine's got my passport and all my currency in it, it's fairly important. However, on my agenda for today, no, it's not. There's a common misconception that it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. Ask any addict. They will tell you that's not true. It takes roughly 21 days for your brain to think, hang on a minute, she's doing something differently. Why isn't she drunk? I don't like this. And it talks to you, and you start to procrastinate. Or if you're an addict, you have another drink or another fix. Or if you're scared of rolling your new program out into the world, if you've got a business, You procrastinate a little bit more. You become a busy fool and you tell anybody and everybody who listens that you're too busy, can't do it. It's a crock. Our mind doesn't like change. Our minds like to be safe. And as safe as being an addict is, and I don't say this proudly, I'm not proud of that part of my life, but I know better now. Maya Angelou, the famous American philosopher, says when you know better, you do better, and I will spend the rest of my life empowering as many people as I can get in front of to help them to understand that the story we tell ourselves is what gets us into trouble. And when we start to try and take a chance to choose to change any habit or create a new habit, the brain doesn't like it. It starts to produce chaos in all forms of self-sabotage. To establish a new positive habit, for instance, takes roughly between 60 and 90 days. Which would make sense. There is a reason most detox programs last a minimum of 12 weeks. Everything that's ever happened to you has served to make you individually the person that you are today. All your good points, all your bad points, all your annoying little habits, all the amazing degrees you have all got there as a result of persistent, consistent habit. Many, many motivational people will stand up, the likes of Tony Robbins, and go, you need to take massive positive action. Rubbish. You need to get out of bed in the morning, that's the first thing. And then you need to take it slowly and be kind and be gentle to yourself whilst holding yourself accountable and responsible for the actions that you take as well as the actions that you do not take. Our choices have consequences. The consequences can be good, bad or indifferent, but if we've had the nouns to take and make a choice, we then also need to hold ourselves accountable and responsible for their results. The result of my addiction sees me with a cirrhotic liver, stationary kidney disease, peripheral neuropathy from my hips to my toes, and these days, bizarrely, when I fall down, people think I'm drunk. I like a laugh, so I just laugh with them, because the joke is on me, it's my fault. But these legs don't like walking very often. And sometimes I do fall down, but I promise you I'm not drunk. My brain's forgotten though. It's not caught up. I killed a few million brain cells along the way, and it doesn't know now that when I fall down I'm not drunk. Now, I use humour a lot. It's my go-to, it's my default setting. Particularly if I feel uncomfortable. I don't actually feel comfortable these days, but it's taken me almost 7 years to be this comfortable in my sobriety. On average, it takes 7 years for a new version of us to be born, literally. There are very few cells left in my body today that were there 7 years ago in September when I was told I was dying. There are no cells in my body at all that were there the day I was born. Likewise you. Not one single solitary cell. Our body has renewed and replenished itself automatically without us even having to think about it, which is a good job really. Because if we had to concentrate on that and that alone, we wouldn't get anything else done. We remember to breathe because our unconscious brain tells us to. Our heart remembers to beat because it tells it to. And one day they will stop. And at that point, I guess all bets are off. But the point is, if you want to make an effective, long-lasting, positive, sustainable change in your lives, and that could just be stopping a negative habit, could be starting a business, a family, travelling the world, it doesn't matter what your it is. You do have to bring calm to the chaos. And the way to do that is to reboot your mindset. Reboot the way you see yourself, your situation, your lives. Because if you're not where you say you want to be in your life at this present time, then there's something you're not doing. And it just might, have something to do with yourself not telling yourself the truth. Only you, your mirror, and your God, if you have one, know your truth. Are you a busy fool? Or are you foolishly being busy? Instead of doing something productive to change whatever it is that you feel as though you need to change. The same thing applies to students in school. Part of what I do these days, my business has two levels, apart from if you don't count the speaking, it has two other level streams. One is where I teach children in schools, emotional intelligence, growth mindset, mindfulness. If I'd had those skills when I was 6, 7, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. However, we are. And I know from experience with the children that I work with now that it's never, ever too early to start. When I stand in front of a classroom full of children who on average are 10 or 11 years old, I talk to them about Harry Potter, gaming levels on Fortnite, whatever that is, gaming levels on YouTube channels, recycle bins, light bulbs, spaghetti. But they're learning about neuroplasticity, of which I don't have a degree. My only degree is the first class honours in degree of life. What I know because I've learned along the way. But we talk about neuroplasticity. We talk about synaptic nerve connections. Light bulbs are the neurons in our head, and I can prove it because there are enough images on Google to show these lighting up. Think about it, your brains, my brain, what's left of it, all of them are made up of water, fat, and electricity. It's a physical impossibility. If you were in the bath and I chucked a toaster in it, you'd be dead. And yet we've got water and electricity inside our brain governing every action that we take. How does that work? We don't know. We believe it because we've been told it's true, which is a fact. We believe that we're not all floating away in space because gravity is keeping us grounded. I like to thank my crystals for my grounding these days. However, I'm happy to go with gravity because I don't want to find out the opposite's true. We believe what we're told. We grow to what we know. If you tell a child often enough that it is thick, it is dumb, it is stupid, it will grow up believing that. Guilty. If you grow up, or if you have grown up, feeling that you are not as pretty as your best friend, unhappy with your level of income or your level of education, you're not good enough, smart enough, clever enough, more than likely the world map you had of yourself by the time you were 7 or 8 is at the root cause of that. And the chances are you won't even know why. Because even the most well-meaning parent can create a negative child. I work with people all the time that are scared and they have no clue why. They grew up in happy, healthy, emotionally healthy families. And yet when you pare it back, they've got a loving mother saying, "Little Johnny, get down, you're going to fall out that tree and break your leg. Stop it, get down, you can't climb trees, you're going to break your leg. Don't stick that toaster in the bath because you're going to kill Nanny." Yes, that's true, please don't stick the toaster in the bath. However, explain why. Knowledge is power. The chaos that exists in most adult brains is as a direct result of the input they've had on the blank canvas. We are all born into this world as a blank canvas. Not one of us comes here with an agenda. By the time we're 7 or 8, that's been coloured in. The foundations of our lives have been built and it's up to us, and then we have to build it from there. But if your foundations aren't level, the chances of you growing up level-headed have been greatly reduced. To create the long-lasting positive change you need, and to cut through the chaos, you have to reboot that mindset, and the way to do it is to practice. You came to live the lives you're living now as a result of however many years you've been practicing whatever it is you're doing that's brought you here. If you don't like where you are, then you need to do something to change it. That change will not happen overnight. It will take a minimum of 21 days, and when you get to day, don't quote me on this, if 21, if I say to you, if you can't get out of bed on day 21, your brain's going to start, no, stay there. It's not an exact science. Change is a gradual thing. The greater the change, the longer time you've had to practice getting it right. We are all works in progress. I'm a different person to I was 7 years ago. Literally, physically and mentally. I'm 7.5 stone lighter for a start, and I can get into clothes smaller than my daughter who's 25. Boom! However, that makes me really happy. because there was a time when I didn't think I was going to see this far hence. In another 7 years' time, when I'm approaching 70, I'll be a different person again, hopefully new and improved. Don't ever stop learning. Don't misunderstand the fact that because you've learned something you can't unlearn it. You are all possible beings. You were all brought here for a reason. Whether you know what your reason is at this moment in time or not is almost irrelevant. You can do, be and become anything you want to be. The key is to be happy in doing that. If you're not happy, there's a reason. If you don't know why, come talk to me. Not that I'm going to tell you why you're unhappy, you know, but we could talk. Take responsibility for the actions and the choices that you take and make, and hold yourself accountable. And if you're not strong enough to hold yourself accountable, get somebody who is. My clients come to me and I say, I will be hands on heart and say, I will promise not to bend your ear. This is not a lecture from me. This is not me going, you don't want to do it like that, you need to do it like this. No, I will not bend your ear, but if you lie to yourself, I will kick your ass. Hard. Because if somebody had done that to me 20 odd years ago, I'd have saved myself about £60,000 for a start. My name's Sue Kerr. These days I help people to reclaim their lives, live it with purpose and passion in their own way and on their own terms, without ever feeling the need to apologise, excuse, justify or explain themselves, ever. Whatever you do for the rest of today, this week, your lives, ladies and gentlemen, be happy and know that whoever and whatever you are, regardless of what anybody else thinks, you're enough. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Clara Maxim. I come from New Mexico State University with the New Mexico State University students, and we're from the College of Agriculture, Consumer, and Environmental Sciences. So I picked this topic today, training your mind to cut through chaos, to speak about to you guys today, because my life happens to be very chaotic. And so I kind of wanted to work with you guys today and work with myself on learning to train our minds to cut through some chaos and be calmer about situations that are chaotic. So I'm going to continue talking about that. So the definition of chaos is complete disorder and confusion, right? And chaos for everyone means something different. So for me, that would mean something different for all of you guys. So for me, chaos means a million different things going on, whether it be at work, at school, at home, you know, doing all kinds of homework, a huge to-do list, so many different tasks. That's what my chaos looks like. Now for you guys, it may be at the workplace, at your jobs. You may be being pulled 20 million different places, not enough time to do anything. Maybe it's at school. Maybe you have a long to-do list like me and definitely not enough hours in the day to get all those things done for class the next day. Or maybe it's at home. Maybe you have, you know, dishes to do and family to feed and kids to get to bed and all kinds of different chaotic things happening in your lives. Or maybe it's inside your head, which it totally could be. There's a million different things going on in our heads at all times, right? And sometimes that can be chaotic and overwhelming. So maybe your chaos is a combination of these. Maybe it's just one or two, but take a second and think about that chaos that's happening in your mind. Think about what your chaos is. And I'm going to ask you guys a question about that chaos. So how do you react to this, this chaos? So I call this a chaos fire because it's kind of like a fire. You don't know when this chaos is going to happen. You don't really know how to put it out, right? I'm not a firefighter. Are you guys firefighters? Does anyone know how to put out? You are? Okay, awesome. Maybe you can help us. But yeah, chaos is something that, you know, we don't really know how to handle right away, and it can happen at any time. So my question for you guys is, how do you react to this? Do you react in a positive way? Do you react in a negative way? If you're like me, you probably react in a negative way, and I'd really like to change that. I'd really like to react in a positive way that is going to help myself get through those chaotic situations, because we're never going to be able to be unfazed by chaos. That's just not going to happen. But we can become comfortable with it, right? We can have the tools to handle these situations and know how to react and train our emotions to react in the way that we want to. So the next step is, after we've recognized our response to these chaotic events, recognizing our emotions. So what's happening behind that response, that initial response? So for me, my initial response to anything when I'm overwhelmed is to lash out at people and be protective. Go into this protective shell, because I don't want to, you just want to protect yourself, and you don't want to be involved or vulnerable to other people when you're having chaotic things going on in your life. So whatever your emotion may be, whether it's stress, anger, whatever, when you're in a chaotic environment, when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's going to look different for everyone. But recognize that emotion, recognize your response to that emotion, and recognize the circumstances that are causing that. So the next part that I advise is directing your brain and controlling those emotions, which is absolutely 100% the hardest part. And the first part of that is consciously recognizing that a certain response is not aligned with who you aim to be. So when you react to a situation, and it's in a negative way, the first step to this is going to be recognizing that you do not want to be that person that's reacting to that negative situation, right? You don't want to be reacting in a way that's negative. So the way I like to think about it is, how would your biggest role model react to this same situation? They would probably sit there and calmly handle the situation and get through it, right? So when you're in this crazy, overwhelming, mind-boggling situation, sit there, consciously recognize that this is a situation that you could negatively respond to, and choose to respond differently. Choose to respond in a way that your role model would respond. And at first this might seem like you're faking it, because you probably are, because instinctively you want to respond in a way that you normally would to protect yourself. But actually responding differently, your emotions will eventually catch up with your response, and you'll have a very confident way to control your emotions. Saying it out loud and eventually believing it, and it is the goal. So, like I was saying with the fire idea before, for me, the most stressful, most overwhelmed, chaotic time in my life is when I'm sitting at the library and I have a planner full of things to do for the entire week, for the entire day. I have like 30 things to do that day and only 3 hours left to do them before the end of the day. And I'm just sitting there absolutely overwhelmed and stressed out. Now, this totally looks different for each of you, I'm sure you guys all have different situations where you feel the most overwhelmed and chaos. But in that situation, the crazy thing is that none of those things are affecting me at that time. I'm just sitting there in my own head thinking about all these things that are not even happening at this time. That paper I have to get done is not due until 2 days from now, but yet I'm sitting there stressing out about it. And it's really interesting that we can sit there and stress out about something that is it's not happening in your present moment. You're not in that moment where this is affecting you. So whenever you're feeling chaotic or overwhelmed, I think it's a really good idea to be present and put out what's in front of you. Put out the fire that's happening right there, the small fire. Don't try to put them all out at once, because we're not going to be able to do that, right? We need to do it one step at a time, and do not obsess about the past fires or future fires, because that's not gonna help our situation if we're worried about something that's in 3 weeks from today. At the time that we're there, what happened 2 days ago, how we could have done it better. Be present in the moment, and control the chaos that you have at the moment. Put out your fire that's there. So if you guys could bear with me and just take a quick second, if you guys would all just close your eyes, and we're going to do a quick exercise. So we're sitting here with our eyes closed, and I want you to imagine that you're in the spot that you're happiest and most productive. So for me, this looks like my favorite coffee shop. I'm sitting there with a paper and pen, ready to do my work. For you guys, this could be like walking outside, walking your dog, sitting at the dinner table with your family, whatever it may be. Put yourself in that moment for just a second. Now I want you guys to think about the one thing that causes a biggest stress in your life every day, the thing that causes chaos in your life. Whatever it may be, just think of one thing. Now imagine that you have your paper in front of you and you're going to write that one thing down on your paper in your favorite spot where you're calm and most productive. We're going to sit there and write it down. Once we have this written down, we're going to rip the paper off the page, and we have some balloons next to us. I forgot to mention that. But we have some balloons next to us. We're going to take that thought, that stressing thing in our lives, we're going to crumple it up, and we're going to put it in that balloon, and we're going to walk outside, and we're going to let go of that balloon. And we're going to let go of that balloon to the point where it's floating away, and we can't see the color anymore, and that balloon no longer it's no longer in our life. We're no longer worried about what's happening. So you guys can open your eyes now. But hopefully that kind of gave you guys an idea of what we're doing. We're letting go of those things that are controlling our lives, that we think are so involved in what's happening in our lives at the moment. It's so simple to just let them go, right? When you think about it in a way that you can just write them down and let those things go. We can only control how we react. We can't control the outcome of the situation. So let's let go of all the balloons, yeah? So I'd like to end with a quote that I thought was really helpful for me when I'm trying to handle all the chaotic things in my life. And it goes, if you feel something is overwhelming, you take the time to break it up into smaller steps. We have 2 feet for a reason, to put one foot in front of the other, one at a time. Don't take everything on all at once. Breathe, and simply take it step by step. Thank you guys.